Hey there, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you something a bit more to the intermediate level, something that you're not going to use all the time, but it's a great feature to know. The function that I'm talking about is expose function from Puppeteer. Let's get right into it so I can start showing you something very cool. Here, as you can see, I have a simple Puppeteer setup that basically creates a browser, a new page, and goes to this website. And also after that it tries to get some extra details from the website, such as the title, the description, and right here we have an invalid document query selector, so I can show you why is this important to know and useful for the future. In this case, if we run the code right now, we would get an invalid selector right here. And as you can see, let's go to the debugger console. As you can see, we have an evaluation cannot read property inner text of null. This is basically saying that this selector does not exist, so we cannot access the inner text property of it because this returns as null. In this case, well, what we would do and what we did in the previous lectures is first to check if this document query selector is true and it returns a value. Then we would want to copy it again right here, paste it, and then get the inner text of it, else we are going to return false. Let's test it out quickly and let me show you that it works just like this. And as you can see, it stopped in the debugger without any problems. And if we would to go to the debugger console and right here details, we can clearly see that we got the description and also the title, and the invalid property is now false. Okay, let's close this up. Let's clear this right a bit. Now you're probably asking yourself, what does this have to do with anything? Well, if we would have 20 selectors, just like the invalid one, where we would want to check first if it exists, and then if it doesn't, to return as false, we would have a big clutter of code. In this case, a good thing to do is to create a function that handles this. So let me just show you what I mean by that. As you can see, we are right here in the evaluate. This code that returns the title, description, and the invalid selector, this code is ran inside of the page of the browser. So we could also create functions just like this. Let get inner text, which is going to take a selector, and then we are going to do just this. We are going to copy this line of code right here, paste it right here, and instead of the default selector that we used, we are going to paste in the dynamic selector as a function, and also right here. And just like this, we can save it, and then we can use this for everything, just like this. As you can see, this function already cleared up a lot of code that was redundant here. And now we can also test this out, make sure it's working. But before that, I almost forgot to put here the return statement. And now we can save this code, start to run it, and let's see if this returns the same code as before. So let's write here details. We have an object, and as you can see, the description invalid is false, and also we have the title. And now let's close this process. And of course, you can easily expand this function to not only work with inner texts, but with get attributes as well, just like this. And for different attributes, for example, the href of an A element, and so on and so forth. Now for the part 2 of this video, what I'm going to do next is show you how you can make a simple function from a library or your custom functions that are outside of the browser to run inside of the browser pages. Let's close this up and let me show you what I mean by this. We can have right here a custom function, for example this one, which basically will take a string, and then if it passes the specified length, then it will truncate that string and return appending the ... So here's what I mean by that. I'm going to console log a simple truncate that is going to have this is just a simple text and a demo, and we only want 10 characters of it. So here's what we are going to do. I'm going to run this, and it automatically stops right here, and we can go in the debugger console, and as you can see, these are 10 characters, and then it appended these 3 dots. Okay, closing this up and also removing these lines right here. And the question is, how do you make this function available inside of the browser scope? Because if we would to run this, for example, right here, truncate, this would not work and it would throw out an error. Let's test it out and let me show you that it does. Debugger console, and as you can see, we have right here evaluation failed, truncate is not defined. Let's close this up and let me show you how you can exactly do this. So let's go back a bit in the browser, and as you can see right here, I have the documentation for the exact function that we are going to use. This function is of course from Puppeteer, and it's called page.expose function, which is going to take the name of the function and also the actual function. So as you can see, we have right here a simple example, and we can use the same format to expose this function that we want. So this is what we are going to do, and I'm going to copy these lines of code right here because those are the main ones, and I'm going to go back in the browser, and right before getting the details, I'm going to do the expose function, and I'm going to indent it properly, and the name of the function is going to be truncate, the same, and the parameters are going to still be the same. So I'm going to copy and paste them right here, just like this. And as far as running the actual function that we already have defined up, we need to do just this. So we need to return what this function returns. So we are going to run it, and we are going to use these parameters right here, just like this. And now we can easily use truncate inside of here. So let's test it out and make sure it's working. Let's say we want to truncate this line of code. Let's say we want to truncate the title and only use 5 characters. Alright, now as you can see, we have the same style of function that we had before, and if we were to test this right now, unfortunately it would not work. Why is that? That's because if you read closely to the documentation, it says right here, the method adds a function called name, and when called, the function executes Puppeteer function, which is the function that we defined in nodeJs, and then returns a promise, which resolves to the return value of Puppeteer function. Which means that basically we would have to use right here async and await for the truncate function to finish and return what we actually need. So we can save this right now and we can test it out. Let's start to debug it and let's see what it returns us. Debug console, details, object, and right here we have the title, web space.s, and then ... which means this function is now working inside of the evaluate function. We can stop this, and this is basically what I wanted to show you. This is a very useful function if you are going to use custom functions that only you have access to from the node process, and you want to make them available in the browser page scope. Now we are at the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget, this code is available for download at the lecture resources. Bye bye.